Greetings and welcome to this edition of Profiles in Global Healing. I'm your host, Dr. Kamau Kokayi, and today I am joined by a longtime colleague and friend, Yvonne Secreto, who's been a nurse for as long as I've been a physician. And she does some very interesting work. She's also a counselor, author, and I always start these interviews by having my guests share a case, something that they've done, because I don't want you, the viewer of this, to get bored in any way. Okay, so Yvonne, just tell us about a case and what you've been doing.
Hi, well, thank you for inviting me here to share my information. I have a lot of wonderful cases that I can think of. I want to tell you a case about a young man who I saw his mother giving an updated interview on the website.
Right, it's actually on Profiles in Global Healing.
Yeah, she gave a profile. And I was very excited because this happened 10 years ago. And he was about 7 years old at the time. And his mother brought him into the office because he was having night tremors and nightmares. Terrors, rather. Mm-hmm. Night terrors, nightmares, and insomnia. And he was sleepwalking. And he was sleepwalking through the house, very disturbed and disturbing his family, of course. And they didn't know what to do. And regressing a younger person, it can sometimes be difficult.
What do you mean regressing?
Most of the work that I do deals with healing in the realm of consciousness. And so it involves, one of the tools that I use, of the 10 tools that I work with, is past life regression. And in regression, we go to the subconscious mind and we retrieve memories. So I tell people all the time, you know how we use 15% of our brain? That other 85 contains our memory banks. Our memory bank is in that part of the brain that we don't usually use in terms of the past many, many lifetimes and even events in this lifetime. So the questions that I ask the people, they wake up the memory in the memory banks. So with this young boy, I asked him questions, and he described to me that he was a pilot, he was in the military, and he was flying with a colleague, and their plane was shot down. It was in a swamp or a marsh or something, and he knew that he had to find his friend. And that was the sleepwalking. He was actually walking around trying to find his friend. And he was very disturbed about it. And we did a wonderful healing in that we had him find his friend.
Now, I know a lot of people listening, what, past life regression? How can that happen? Right? Because it kind of stands outside of medicine and science as it's understood here in the West.
Right.
But at the same time, basically you're talking about a way to engage someone's other than conscious self. Right?
Exactly. The subconscious self.
And this is a 7-year-old who was able to go through a process, and it's not like you're leading him with answers.
He described everything to me. I just asked him a few questions. He described everything.
I'm just curious, what kind of things would you have asked him?
Well, the questions are very basic questions. We start off with questions like, are we inside or outside? Is it daytime or nighttime? Or what are you wearing? So the more questions and the more rapid succession that we ask the questions, the more the memory is woken up. So we woke up the memory, and then he just kept telling the story. And so his fear was that his friend was alive and needed help, and he couldn't get to him. So when we got to that information, I then coached him in a way that he found his friend.
I see.
He was able to help him. But the best part about it was his mother said in the profile that it was miraculous.
Right.
When he got home, that the night terrors, the insomnia, the sleepwalking stopped.
But even more than that is he didn't remember any of it.
He didn't
remember the
any
conversation. She talked to him about it later. He just didn't remember because he was in a different realm.
Right.
When all
He's
the
in a conscious
right
realm.
now he's conscious. He don't remember. Who remembers their past life in the conscious realm? Right.
So
exactly.
It went right back. Right. Actually, the information went back to right where it was, which was in the subconscious mind, but now it's not affecting him consciously.
Right.
And that's what happens with a lot of us. There's things happening that we can't explain and we don't know why, because there's another part of us that's causing that to happen. We bring that to the surface.
Well, I mean, I became aware of this work. Well, I've heard about it, but I was in one of those down moments when, you know, spirit can talk to you. Something else can happen outside of your routine.
Right.
I was in Barnes and Nobles and I saw this book, Many Lives, Many Masters, by Dr. Brian Weiss. And I picked it up and I couldn't put it down because he started talking about a hypnotic session with a woman that had really bad panic attacks. And one of those sessions actually morphed into a past life.
Memory.
And when... By the time, I mean, he continued to counsel, they went through like over 50 different lifetimes and stuff that she had. And so you say to yourself, well, is that true? Or I think what's more important is that that's something that's in the person's subconscious.
Yes.
And it actually can affect them.
It's affecting their outer world, their work, their relationships.
Right.
Everything.
All of that. So how did you come to this work?
Well, I used to be I still am, but I used to teach Reiki. And I am a Reiki master and a Reiki practitioner. So I was a pediatric nurse.
And just explain quickly what Reiki, just give people like a snapshot of what a Reiki practitioner does.
Reiki is a form of therapeutic touch where you allow love energy to move through your body and you become a conduit for that energy to transfer it to someone or something outside of yourself.
Okay.
You can bring it into a room or a person or whatever. So as a pediatric night nurse, I would do Reiki on the babies in the cribs or on the ward. And I would walk around in the dark doing Reiki on them. And the parents would come to me and they'd say, "Are you coming back again tonight? This is the first night that my son slept all week." Or, you know, there's something like, "Can you take care of him?" You know, so they saw and felt the difference. And that really inspired me. I was able to get a grant, a state grant, to teach parents how to do that touch therapy on the children. And we did that for about 7 years. And but in doing a Reiki session, this was on an adult, she started to gasp for air. She started gasping and she spontaneously went into another lifetime. So it was really scary.
I was going to say that love energy was doing something else.
This is not supposed to happen. Right. And it was really scary and I didn't know what to do. And she was gasping and couldn't breathe. And so I shook her out of the session and had her sit up and, you know, and then I thought to myself, wow, I mean, there was something there, but we didn't get to it. And that inspired me to go back and get trained as a past life regression therapist so that I could see what was there, what was causing. She told me she felt like she was drowning. She couldn't breathe. So this was obviously another lifetime. If I had had that training, I would have had her become what I call a silent observer. And she and I would have hovered above the memory. We would look down on it and she wouldn't be experiencing it. And then we could heal it.
So that's something else for those of you who find this really interesting. There's actually training for it.
Yeah.
Where people, you know, Are there any other cases or types of cases you like to work with, or anything else that stands out?
Well, one case that stands out as my favorite is a lady who came. She was your patient healing with the office staff, and she had migraine headaches, and there was nothing she could do to get rid of these headaches.
Right.
And so we did a session, and again, she described it to me in detail, where we woke up a memory where she was on a farm, and it was very rural, and her husband had they had like actually I'm remembering it now. She was standing on a hill, and just a real farm setting, but she was pregnant. She was with child, and somehow, for some reason, he felt that she had committed adultery. And so they were having this disagreement about the pregnancy, and he shot her. And he shot her with a shotgun in the back of her, right behind her ear, where the migraine headache persisted. And so we actually did the healing of the wound and around the event itself, the trust, a lot of forgiveness. These cases need a lot of forgiveness and a lot of cleansing and a lot of releasing mentally. And when we did those exercises and you gave her the herbs and the other things that she needed, the migraines finally went away.
Wow. So that and she actually went on to do different kind of therapy work and kinesiology.
That's so wonderful to know.
So this is actually another, when we think about the human being, there are different levels to who we are. There's a mechanical, structural level, a chemical, an energetic level that we see acupuncturists work with. But then there's our consciousness. There's a consciousness that actually comes in and is domiciled in this actual body and stuff. And many would say, both within the scientific and spiritual communities, that consciousness goes beyond just the lifespan of this physical body. And that consciousness is subject to all kinds of other types of influences. And, it's part of what we're here to learn as we evolve, right? And really getting back to our original state. Right?
Exactly.
So this particular technique, I've heard all kind of feedback from many different folks that have experienced it, and it's been a really positive piece for people that really want to explore their consciousness, understand who they are, why they're here, some of the experiences and things that have actually happened with them.
It's key. I tell everyone, another specialty that I've been working on lately is relationships. And I tell everyone, your internal relationship between your inner male and inner female is a reflection of your external relationships. And when you deal with that, again, consciously, working with that balance and healing, it always manifests in the outer.
Right.
And so that inner healing will always affect the outer results, always.
Right, and I think as a practitioner, and as we try to really get to the bottom of why somebody is ill or what's happened to someone, this has actually become a useful avenue to actually explore in any number of cases. And I really want to thank you for just having put the time into developing this art. The clients that have seen you have been totally, amazed by that, and it's really been worthwhile.
It's a wonderful thing. I say to the clients, I don't need to go to the movies. Like, their stories are so wonderful.
Right.
That, I get so much richness out of them.
Well, we look forward to hearing more stories at another point, and we will certainly share your contact information.
Thank you.
And we thank the viewing audience for joining us on Profiles for Global Healing. And we ask you to remember, because you can't really forget it, that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. So until
Thank
next time, peace and blessings.